Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheriff, for that gracious introduction. Thank you. Thanks, Steve, for your leadership, all the tremendous work you've done on behalf of the AFL CIO of Minnesota and working men and women throughout the state during your leadership, and all of the rest who are here. Honored to have this invitation to speak with you here today, and it reminds me back that I was first invited to speak to the AFL CIO convention back in 1982. That was 32 years ago, before some of you were born, before others of you had reached junior high. And just months before that convention, I'd received my first endorsement from an AFL CIO affiliate, Steelworkers Local 1938. I gave my best fire and brimstone speech at one of their monthly membership meetings. Then I waited outside the hall while they debated my fate. One guy left the hall and walked by me into the men's room. When he came out, I instinctively shook his hand before he returned inside. Then I heard voices rising as they argued inside the hall, and that was suddenly followed by uproarious laughter. A few minutes later, everybody came out of the hall, and they were smiling and said, "Congratulations, you've been endorsed." Well, after everyone left, I learned what had happened. The guy who had just returned got up and said, "All I know is anyone who wants the Steelworkers endorsement bad enough that you would shake a Steelworker's hand after he just took a piss, I say, hell, let's give it to him." We've been through a lot together since then. Good times, bad times, victories, defeats. But through it all, you've supported me and I've supported you. There's a Russian folk saying I like, which goes, "The depth of a friendship can be measured by the amount of salt or pud that two people have eaten together during their lifetimes." I like that saying because, you can't just go out and quickly eat 2 or 3 pounds of salt. You have to eat it bit by bit, slowly, over time. It's the same with real friendships. They take time. I have 32 years of friendships with some of you. That's a lot of salt. Other friendships were forged during the past 4 years together. That's like starting with rock salt. 2011, 2012 were tough years with Republican majorities in both the Minnesota House and Senate. Many of them were not your normal Republicans. They were Tea Party extremists, and they were on an ideological crusade. Pass right to work, dismantle unions, end prevailing wage, eliminate defined benefit pension plans, cut health and education budgets, borrow more money from school districts, raise property taxes on the middle class to protect taxes for the rich. We fought it all. We won most of those battles, but the best we could do was prevent the worst from happening. We needed a DFL team. We needed DFL majorities in the Minnesota House and Senate. Before the 2012 elections, as I was traveling around the state, I was often asked, what would happen with the DFL legislature and DFL governor? I replied, one word: progress. Well, Minnesotans gave us the DFL legislature, and we've given Minnesota progress. I'm going to run a list here and ask you to hold your applause till the end, or you'll be here till tomorrow evening, and no one will be happy with that. Early childhood education, all-day kindergarten, 2-year tuition freezes at MnSCU and the University of Minnesota, marriage equality, a $9.50 minimum wage indexed to inflation. Hold your applause now, sir. Strong anti-bullying legislation, higher income taxes on the top 2%, statewide property tax relief, landmark renewable energy legislation, elimination of the entire $2.8 billion school debt, fair public employee contracts, an honestly balanced budget, and Republican deficits turned into DFL surpluses. Thank you. And jobs. Jobs, 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 to quote an old mentor of mine. You know, Republicans said if we raise taxes on the richest Minnesotans and the biggest corporations, they'd all leave the state, and our economy would collapse. Well, as usual, Republicans were wrong. It turns out that business executives and investors are indeed important to economic growth. But the real jobs creators are working men and women with good educations, good jobs, good wages, and more money in their pockets to spend on the products and services that create other jobs. Well, that's what we did. We raised taxes on the richest 2% of Minnesotans. We invested most of that money in education and economic development incentives. We put state government behind jobs, good jobs, union jobs, with more jobs to follow. We've helped finance business expansions all over our state. Mayo Clinic in Rochester, AGCO in Laverne, New Flyer in St. Cloud, Magnetation in Virginia, 3M in Oakdale, Hormel Institute in Austin, Sedgwick in Detroit Lakes, Price Mechanical in Maple Grove, Access Clinicals in Dilworth, Shutterfly in Shakopee, AAR Corporation in Duluth, Toro in Bloomington, Baxter in Brooklyn Park, WFSI in Sauk Rapids, and 3M in Maplewood, to mention just a few. We partnered with businesses to make major projects happen which Republicans would have rejected. The new football stadium in Minneapolis was controversial, but some 7,500 Minnesotans will have jobs building it. Another 1,000 workers will build the office, retail, and residential complexes next to it, where over 5,000 people will work and hundreds more will live. Those projects will revive a rundown part of downtown Minneapolis. We've helped to finance another new stadium project here in downtown St. Paul. Go Saints. And other downtown revitalization projects in Mankato, Rochester, Duluth, and St. Cloud. Combined, they will put thousands more of your members to work. I was told a couple weeks ago in Mankato that there are more building projects ready to go there, but they can't proceed because of a shortage of construction workers in that area. We partnered with Mayo Clinic to build a destination medical center in Rochester. Without immediate and enthusiastic state support, that incredible project would likely be underway somewhere else. It will transform the city of Rochester, bring some 30,000 new jobs to Minnesota over the next 2 decades, and further enhance Mayo's world medical preeminence. Our latest bonding bill will bring desperately needed water to Worthington and Laverne for business expansions in southwestern Minnesota. The area's Republican legislators gave the project lip service. We gave it $72 million. We funded a total of $2.3 billion in new state bonding projects in the last 4 years. There'd be more if I'd had my way. And all those efforts by the public sector and the private sector working together add up to 162,000 more jobs in Minnesota than when I took office in 2011. There are more jobs in Minnesota today than ever before in our state's history. We had the 5th best GDP growth among the states in 2012. The Gallup Jobs Index ranked us number 5 in 2013. And Forbes magazine said we have the 8th best business climate. 22,800 of those additional jobs are in the construction industry. However, that's only half of the construction jobs lost in the Great Recession. And that's why we need to keep investing more in Minnesota.
That's right.
And if I'm around, we will. Transportation funding will be a major issue in the 2015 legislative session. Right now, we face a $6 billion gap between expected revenues for the next decade and the amount needed just to maintain our systems in their present conditions. And we need to do more than just maintain the status quo. To support our continued economic growth, we need to invest in new, expanded, and improved highways, roads, bridges, and public transit. An old football coach once said, "You're either getting better or you're getting worse." Our transportation systems have suffered from a lack of funding for the past quarter century, and as a result, they've gotten worse. If I'm back, they're going to get better. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Last month, thanks to the hard work of Shirka Newson and the Minnesota AFL CIO, some 200,000 Minnesotans got a pay raise. Minnesota's minimum wage was increased to $8 an hour. It will go to $9.50 in 2 years and be indexed to inflation. Congratulations, Sharon. Congratulations, Minnesota AFL CIO. Now, even at $9.50 an hour, one person working 40 hours a week will only earn enough money to support a family of 4 at 80% of the federal poverty level. We're not making anyone rich, but we're giving everyone the chance to work their way into the middle class, and that's what this country should be about. And thank you all of you for making that happen. You know, most of you make the minimum wage and maybe even more than the $9.50. So this wasn't about you. It wasn't about most of your members. It was about other working men and women around this state who don't have voices, who often, in most cases, don't have unions to speak for them and give them collective voices. So it's a real tribute to all of you, what happened there. I congratulate you and I thank you. And we're going to continue to invest in better education to give their kids and everyone's kids even better futures. Before I showed up, public schools and public school teachers were being blamed for all the problems that Republicans had created. State aid reductions forced school boards and administrators to cut important classes, effective teachers, guidance counselors, and after-school activities. Teachers face more students with more problems, worked harder and harder, yet receive no credit for anything they do so well every day, like producing the best ACT scores of any state in the nation for the 9th straight year. Well, the more problems still come into our schools from all over the world, but we're tackling them with early childhood education, state-funded all-day kindergarten, tuition freezes, the University of Minnesota and Minuscule campuses, read by third grade initiatives. We work closely with Education Minnesota to make all that happen and more. We have more to do. We need to align our vocational and technical programs with the jobs of the future rather than the jobs of the past. We need to show junior high school and high school students that what those good career opportunities will be and how they can prepare for them. Our state has been successful because we have the best skilled, hardest working, and most productive workers anywhere in the world. If we're going to stay on top, our people have to stay on top, and we're going to keep them there. We're going to keep Minnesota on top, and we made good progress. With your help and support, we'll keep moving ahead. However, as I said before, there's a group of rabid extremists called the Tea Party who wants to reverse all the gains we've made over the past 2 years. They want to cut taxes on the rich, gut workers' protections, and threaten people's economic security. The stakes are very, very high. Look at the battles we've had to fight in the last couple of years just to give child care providers and personal care attendants the chance to vote on whether or not they want to form a union. Just to vote. Using a process that under a federal law was enacted 79 years ago, and a state law passed 43 years ago. But those anti-union extremists want to deny Minnesotans the right to decide for themselves whether or not they want to form a union. Their idea of democracy is that you're free to do whatever you want as long as it's what they want you to do. And they won't stop until they've eliminated unions and everything that all of you have done to create better standards of living, better working conditions, and better communities. I have an opponent who fits that mold. He says he wants to go, quote, all Scott Walker on Minnesota. He wants to make Minnesota a right-to-work state. He wants to reduce taxes on the richest Minnesotans. He's against minimum wage increases, against the Affordable Care Act, and against the expansion of Medicaid. He promotes charter schools and vouchers to undermine public education. He'd take away marriage equality and freedom of choice. He's against almost everything the government does. You know, I'm always amazed at the folks who detest government, who believe it's totally incompetent, and then want jobs in government. Even running government. Can you imagine someone interviewing for the job of CEO of Coca-Cola and saying to the board of directors, you know, I really don't like Coke. I'm a Dr. Pepper guy. Well then, go run Dr. Pepper. People believe that the private sector has all the answers, should find their jobs there, and leave the complex, sophisticated jobs of managing complex, sophisticated public services to those of us who believe in them. That's right. And who believe in the people who provide them, as I do. So that's what this election comes down to. A choice between someone who believes in government, who cares about what it does, or someone who doesn't. Between someone who wants to make government work better, or someone who wants to tear it down. Between someone who has spent a career in government, who understands the challenges before it, and who has years of experience leading through tough situations, or someone who looks at everything through narrow, rigid, ideological lenses, and who much of the time doesn't even know what he's talking about.
That's right.
I need your help to win this election. I need your votes. I need you to get everyone you know to vote. Family, friends, union members. This election will be decided not by all the people of Minnesota, but by all the people who vote in it. Your votes count a great deal. I need you to remember and to remind others what it was like trying to work with a Republican governor or a Republican legislature and vowing not to let it happen again. I need you to also re-elect Senator Al Franken, a terrific United States Senator from Minnesota. The other members of our Minnesota congressional delegation. our other DFL statewide leaders, constitutional officers, and, importantly, a DFL majority in our House of Representatives. And if we do, I'll make you one more promise. If we do, we'll keep working together, all of us together, and we'll build an even better Minnesota. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much. Thank you.